Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Nicole Dankovich, zooming in from Huntington Beach. Nicole has over 30 years of experience in the electrical industry. She has built a distinguished career with leading companies such as Eaton, Siemens, Square D, ABB, and currently serves as the West Regional Sales Manager at Alpetronic, an Italian-based EV charger manufacturer. Her journey began at just 19 years at the old Westinghouse Electric in Pittsburgh, and she has successfully navigated a traditionally male-dominated field with pride and determination. After relocating to Huntington Beach in 1998, she continued to grow professionally while raising her son as a single mother. She earned a degree in business management while working full-time, always prioritizing her son's well-being. Her son recently graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a degree in kinesiology and now interning at a performance and rehab facility for athletes. Well, welcome, Nicole, and congratulations on your son's graduation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yes. So it seems like you have quite an extensive career in the electrical industry. What made you take that route and start at Westinghouse?
It was never planned to be that way. When I graduated high school, I really wanted to be a travel agent or a flight attendant for whatever reason. And I'd gone to school in downtown Pittsburgh for hotel management, travel, whatever. And so my first two jobs were as a travel agent. And I don't even know where that came from, to be honest with you. I was in such a rush in high school. I just wanted to get out in the workforce. I wanted to get going. And I didn't want to what I thought, waste 4 years at college. So I took this 1-year program at the school and started being a travel agent. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people in Pittsburgh at that time, Westinghouse was a very large employer for a lot of people there. And a lot of my family worked at Westinghouse, and my dad being one of them. And my dad's cousin had an opportunity as a temp for a lady who was going on maternity leave. And he's like, do you want to try, this temp job out at Westinghouse? So I was given that opportunity, and I'll be forever thankful to my dad's cousins. Her name is Sandy, who let me come in as a temp for the lady leaving on maternity. And I did a really good job. And within a few months, I was hired full-time on as a Westinghouse employee. I started right before I turned 20. I was still 19. And by, midway through being 20 years old, I was a full-time employee at Westinghouse, which was just not, anything I had ever really imagined. And I had no idea that it would turn into a lifelong career in the electrical industry that I've completely and thoroughly enjoyed so far. And that's really how it all got started.
Wow. Yes. Because you mentioned, I mentioned in your bio some of these companies. And they're like worldwide known when, in all the products that are used in homes and industrial facilities and in offices. So what exactly did you do at Westinghouse? Did you ever come to the product line? Were you in the administration side, or how did you learn the business?
In the beginning, in those early years, I did customer service project management internationally. So I was introduced to a lot of companies that were buying Westinghouse products that were, all over the world. So it was very interesting because I got to know people in Germany, in Brazil, in the Middle East, even that, I would have never had that kind of an opportunity. And to the point where, you talk to them, and this was before email.
Oh, yeah.
Emails back and forth, it was maybe a fax, and it was a lot of phone calls. So you spend a lot of time probably a lot different than now, on the phone with
Right.
those people. And so, one of my customers in Brazil used to send me bikinis from Brazil. Some of my customers in Germany would send me German chocolate, and different things from Germany. So it was really fun, especially at that young age,
Right.
like, wow, what's going on here. So it was a lot of fun. So eventually then, I spent those first couple of years in Pittsburgh, and then I had the opportunity to move to California. My sister had already moved here. She's a teacher, and she was teaching in San Bernardino School District. And I came out to visit her. And even back then, well, San Bernardino is a little different today than it was, almost 30 years ago. But even then, I was like, this place is awesome. I love the weather. I love the scenery. You can't beat California scenery. I mean, from the mountains to the oceans it's such a stark contrast to Pittsburgh. And I've never seen anything like that, in Pittsburgh. So I had the chance to move. It was a friend of mine that I worked with at Westinghouse there, and we both were almost like a package. We came out together. I had at the time an 87 Trans Am, and I had 2 cats, and I loaded my 2 cats. I sold off all of my furniture and got in the Trans Am and drove across America, following my friend. She was in her car with her 2 cats, and drove out here and began working. At that time, Westinghouse, was going through. Westinghouse was bought by Cutler Hammer, who was then bought by Eaton Corporation over those years. I think all in all, I was with Westinghouse, Cutler Hammer, Eaton, I think the first 17 years of my career. So I held a lot of different positions in those companies. And eventually kind of where I ended up was as a distributor sales manager. So I was responsible for all of the distributors in the Southern California area. And I would go visit them to, give training to any, promotions we were having, counter days, those kind of things. And so I really got to know all of the distributors in Southern California, along with the territory, because, you drop this girl from Pittsburgh, PA off in Southern California, all the freeways and everything. And back then we used Thomas guides.
Yeah. I remember those.
You had to go to the page and, wait a minute, I got to go to this page and flip and go. So it wasn't as easy to navigate back in those days. But I'll tell you what, I learned every freeway in Southern California, from up north all the way to San Diego and all the way out east to Indio and Palm Springs and everywhere out there. So that was a really good introduction to learning how to get around SoCal, for sure. And, all those years with that company, I had never known anything else. And I had other companies who were calling me saying, hey, you want to come work for us? And they were obviously offering more money. I was still in my 20s. And, things that you value and need then, because I found out real quick how expensive California was. And I really wasn't making the money that I needed at there. So I did take the carrot that was dangling and went on to the next place to make, considerably more amount of money. And during that time too, is when I was getting into the whole switchgear and learning to read blueprints and how to, all the regulations for California and throughout. So I really, without having gone to school for electrical engineering, I feel like I absorbed a lot of, obviously not to the detail that an engineer would, but I could sit down with blueprints and look at everything and be able to put together a quote, on switchgear, transformers, and that kind of stuff. So that experience really helped me then when I left there and went to my next job as a sales engineer and calling on contractors and end users and distributors as well, selling switchboards, panel boards, transformers, those kinds of things.
That's all. That sounds all industrial stuff. Is that what that is that you're talking about?
Pretty much. Commercial, industrial. And, after a lot of years, I kind of liked variety. So I ended up eventually going into more of the automation piece with PLCs and control products is what I did when I was at Square D Schneider. And that was fun. That was a new learning experience. And then I ended up going more into control products when I went over to ABB. So when I was at ABB, a couple different positions through there, but control products. So selling to control panel builders, all the parts and pieces that go into a control panel that are going to, control it, machines, could be, anything. And so with all of that, then the opportunity came for EV charging. And it seemed like, in America or in the world, really, that we are, really going towards trying to go to renewable energies and clean energy. And it seemed like, it's a new challenge. And that's something that I've always thrived on, is new challenges. So then I got through ABB, different division, I got into the EV charging and learned all about, the different types of chargers and, who needs what, where, and all that kind of stuff. And so now I'm in the EV charging business. I was in that at ABB for, I don't know, 2 years or so. And then reasons being what I wasn't really agreeing with the direction that they were going with. And I had this opportunity to Alpatronic, the Italian manufacturer, who had a very great reputation in Italy, and they were moving to the US. And it seemed like a really good opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a company, just starting off in the US and bringing those operations over. And based on all the research I had done with, what they were doing in Europe, it seemed like they really were the ones who were going to take over EV charging in the US. So I jumped at that opportunity, and now I'm with them.
Wow. Now it seems like, as you tell your story, it seems like you learned so much along the way on the job without really having to have the college education behind that in electrical engineering or whatever, because it almost sounds like you get into really complex products and putting these control panels together. Did they have, in these different jobs and different positions, did they have formal training, or you just kind of forced to?
Oh yeah, I mean, every company, there's intense product training, along the way, and yeah, so I did go many years and got very, very far in life without that degree, and it was through, I call it osmosis of learning as I went, like you mentioned. But I did go back to school. It was just the position that I was in, since I was, raising my son, and I really wanted to give him as much time, energy, and dedication so I did online school. Now, I wouldn't promote online school because it's actually a lot harder than you think, because you pretty much teach everything to yourself. You're not attending a class where there's, someone explaining the whole thing. It's like, okay, here's, 5 chapters, read it, learn it. Here's a paper to write on it. Here's a test to take on it. So you're really doing everything on your own. A lot of it is group projects where you are on a team of, say, 4 other people, and you have a project that's due, and everyone has their piece to submit and put together. Since I'm kind of a control freak, I was always the project leader and would take in everybody's parts and pieces and put it all together. And it took a lot of time, because not everybody has the same idea of a good paper as other people do. So, but I got straight A's all through school while I was raising my son and working full time. So, even though I'm not necessarily proud of having to do online school, at least it's a fresh degree. So if I had gone to college, back in the late 80s when I graduated high school, that would have been a really old degree. At least this degree is, current and fresh compared to somebody who had gotten a degree in the 80s.
So what's the degree in? What was your major?
Business management.
Okay. So that's quite a feat, though. Congratulations on that. To be able to go to school, get straight A's, maintain a full-time job, and raise your child, to be successful, because he just graduated as well. So congratulations to you on that. That's a lot, taking it on and doing very well.
Thank you. Still paying on those school loans.
Well, yeah, those always linger. That's like the hangover from college, huh?
Yeah, I'll probably go to my grave still owing money on school loans at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Well, but you have the knowledge and you did it. That's the main thing. You did it a little bit later in life. You accomplished it. And maybe so that goes for many people who think they can't do it or don't know how to do it. That's one route to take. The online school, because you can do it from home.
Yeah, I spent many evenings after my son went to bed and many weekends doing schoolwork. And, I think, it's all about the desire and the drive to get things done. And for people who are like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, or I just don't have a lot of sympathy, because I know if I could do it, and I'm nobody, if I could do it, I really think, anybody could do it. I mean, I took the loans. It was just doing the dedication of getting the work done. And I believe that anybody with enough drive can do the same.
Yes, I think drive, determination, and the discipline is what it takes. And just showing up every day. And it is probably one of the hardest things to do, because you're not seeing instant gratification to get that degree. You have to do it 2 years or 3 years or however long it takes you to do it, because of the pace you're going at, to be able to get that degree at the end. Mm-hmm. But you're gaining all that knowledge along the way. You're reinforcing the discipline that you have. It's like going to the gym. You can't just go once and think, okay, I'm in shape now. You have to consistently go, not see any results, because you don't see results from day to day. It's that consistency over time that gives you the results. And it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot out of a person to be able to do that. So that's amazing. Now, how did your career change once you got that degree?
I knew that question was coming. I guess I wish it would have changed a little more than it has so far. I think a lot of those years that I was really churning and burning, doing all the things that I was doing, I didn't take some of the positions that I could have taken maybe at the time, because it would have required travel, and I didn't have, none of my family lives in California. Everybody, my sister who originally was here had gone back to Pittsburgh with her husband, because he had things he had to do there. So she left, and she now teaches it in Pittsburgh. So I think a lot of opportunities I did pass on because I just couldn't do that type of position. And now with, the experience that I have, my son, is finally at the point where, I don't have to worry about him so much anymore. Everything's good. And I would kind of be ready for more of a position of management that now I feel, I don't know, I may have missed it. I mean, I'm good being an individual contributor. I love doing sales. I love handling my customers, and I love all of that. But I just wish I was like I said, I am always looking for more, and I love a position of increased responsibility, not maybe being an individual contributor and being in sales has made a very good life for myself. I'm not complaining about any of it, but at this point I am ready for a little bit more. And to say whether that degree really helped, I'm not convinced. I think I could be in the same spot now with or without it, honestly.
Yeah, but here's the difference though. You have an extra tool in your tool shed ready in case of the position comes. And you have all this experience from all these years, so you're ready. Maybe you don't have that position where you want more challenges, right? You want to accomplish more, but it doesn't mean that it's not around the corner.
Yeah, but I think what I'm starting to see a little more is in a way is ageism, and I hate to like I'm on LinkedIn a lot reading things that people post, and I see post after post after post of anybody, and it doesn't matter male or female, that once you hit 50, that people start like, I don't know about, bringing, and I guess I don't understand that to a degree. I mean, one is, I guess we are more expensive because, to hire on salary wise, but what that brings with it, the lifelong experience, the wisdom. I mean, sure, you can get a kid straight out of college with either no experience or maybe a year. I mean, anybody can learn, and of course, but what they're missing is the wisdom and, the school of hard knocks, all the years and all the sales calls that they had gone on and everything that they learned from talking to all different kinds of people from all different kinds of backgrounds. They're missing that piece, and they'll get there eventually. But when you hire somebody who is, 25, 26 years old with a year or two of experience, how long are they going to stay at the company? Things aren't like what they used to be. Like when I was at Westinghouse and spent, 17, 19, whatever years, people don't do that anymore. People will give you a couple years, they learn, and then they move on. And so I think there's always exceptions to the rules. I'm never saying everybody is everything, but I think it's a big risk that companies run when they hire a very young person for a certain, say, sales job. Of how much money are we going to put into this person to train them and teach them, and then in 2 or 3 years another company swoops in and offers them another 20 grand a year, and they leave, and then you're starting it all over again. And so I don't know. I think there is, in this day and age, once you hit 50, a lot of companies are just like, I don't know. But if you're 50 and you're going to work till you're 67, is there any guarantee? That's a lot of years. If you hire someone who's 26, are they going to guarantee you they'll be there for 10 or 12 years? Probably not. So I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding it because I've never been 50-ish before. And it's nothing. It's something that most people, I don't think, really think about when you're in your 30s and 40s and you're working. You're like, well, what's going to happen when I'm 50? My options are a lot less because companies, they don't want a 50-year-old anymore. They want a 26-year-old. So I don't know.
Well, you never know. The thing is, you never know. Either way, you're like locked and loaded with all that knowledge and the education, and if the opportunity comes up, you're able to take it.
Very true. Yeah.
Right.
And I think people don't give credit to whether it's moms or dads raising kids on their own and the amount of skill that it takes navigating. It's like, okay, school drop off is this time. I got my first meeting at this time. I got to pick them up at this time. I've got soccer, baseball, hockey, whatever, and coordinating, game. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but it also I think people should be credited with what they do outside of work and all the skills that are taken, especially fielding through. I mean, if your kid's in sports, my son played travel hockey. He played, in the younger years, soccer and baseball, and dealing with, all the hockey stuff and traveling. It's a lot
it's a lot. But it all counts and it all contributes, and then it makes your son a winner too because you spent that time with him. So that's a good thing. So as we wrap up our interview, what exciting plans do you have for the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I'm really hoping with the current position that I have at El Patronic, we are really trying to electrify the US and bring and get out as many chargers as we can to try and do our contribution with really high reliable chargers that we have the reputation for. We've got a lot of big companies who are buying them and rolling them out. And so I'm just hoping to continue in this EV industry and see what happens, and hopefully it keeps going. And
there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Despite attempts that, of people don't wanting to buy EV cars, people are buying them and they need a place to charge. And I'm hoping to be a solution in getting as many out there as I possibly can for people to use.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great. And Nicole, and thanks so much for coming on the show today. If there's somebody that's listening and wants to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me there.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Nicole. Thank you, and thank you to our audience, OC Power Players. You can go to our website, ocpowerplayers.com, and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.